Welcome to the Inward Investing Podcast. I'm Mike Ritter. Todd Whalen could not make it today, so I have a full 60 minutes with our guest, Ryan McKenzie. Ryan McKenzie has been a good friend of mine for a while. He is an author, a father, an instructor, dude, you've tried everything but comedy so far. I
tried comedy. It doesn't work very well.
Not too well, and as you can tell, me neither. So we've met via a friend of ours, Garrett McCoy. And if you spend long enough in this fitness industry, like the world starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Mm-hmm. And my boss at Harbor Island Athletic Club for a number of years, great mentor, great leader in my eyes, also started sharing some of his inspirations in the fitness industry. And I remember during one of our leadership meetings, he was talking about finding your path, finding your purpose, finding something you love to do and getting paid for it. And, you know, a lot of the trainers that enter the fitness industry in general, a lot of them are hippies that just want to work out and get paid for it, but don't have like managerial and sales experience. So it just scares the crap out of them. And so he said, yeah, I got this guy that I used to work with, and he wrote a book called I Hate Selling, because he hated selling, and he realized a lot of other trainers hate selling too, but that doesn't mean that you can't sell. So while he's giving us sales training, he kind of like brought you up. Of course, I Googled you right away. And so we kind of linked up and started talking. I got the book, and I've been part of your course, and I want to get into all that, but you're also a really fascinating guy. So I feel like you have an incredible story that we can share with all the other people out there, all 10 people listening to this podcast, and
yeah, right,
and give it a whirl. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe how you got started in your career path?
Man, well, first of all, it's an honor to be on here with you. This is really cool. The Inward Investing Podcast this is the real deal. This is good stuff, man. I like it. It is cool. You're right. The small world aspect of things. Like Garrett was actually the first person that hired me into the fitness industry. I remember getting a phone call just out of college from he was my trainer in a gym, one of the top gyms in Orlando. When I was in college, I was like, man, I'm a college shortstop, and I need to be faster because I'm not fast enough, and I need to be stronger because I hit no home runs. I need to be faster and stronger. The only thing I had going for me is I had a good arm. You know, that's it. I could pick the ball up off the ground, but I couldn't hit. I couldn't run. And so I was like, I need a trainer. So I spent my whole between my junior and senior summer working out with him and working on getting faster. Then as soon as I graduate, I get a phone call, and I'm like wanting to get married. I'm like, what am I going to do for work? All this kind of stuff. I like training. I'd kind of like interned with some other trainer in Orlando, and then Garrett calls me up and says, I got a spot. I think you'd be good at it. I was like, all right, I'll come in. And they hired me, and I had no experience. I think I was the first person that they had hired that had no formal training education, no certification, no. So I don't know if this is a bad plug to Garrett or not, but I had no formal training experience, no formal education, no certification. Just knew how to work out, knew I liked to work hard, knew I loved people, you know. And I had a psychology degree, and I'd interned and worked out with Garrett, and they took a chance on me, and they should have fired me a couple months into it because I was really bad at what I did right off the bat. And I realized this is not just hanging out and working out with people. I have to actually sell things here, and I have to actually run a business here. And I did not think that through when I started it, because sales was not a good thought in my home growing up. Like, my parents were teachers. My dad was a football coach and a weight training coach. My mom was a guidance counselor. It was like, we never talked about selling anything, you know. It was like we'd have a lemonade stand on the corner a couple summers a year, maybe for 1 or 2 days, and then it'd get too hot and quit. But it was like it was never selling anything. And so getting into the fitness industry right now, I love working out. I love helping people. Oh, you got to gain clients and keep clients and sell and convince clients. Everything in this industry is sales, whether you like it or not. Like, that was like, I was applying to be a school teacher because I was like, well, I know I can do that. My parents did that, and that's what I grew up around, and I never got accepted to teach anywhere.
Wow. Yeah.
I was stuck. I couldn't leave. So I was like, well, I got to figure this thing out because I got a wife, and she's pregnant. and we need to make some money because we're losing money right now. So that's where it all started, and it was crazy. But
the
anyway.
pressure cooker is a hell of a motivator.
Oh man, like yes, big time. That's where it all started, and I'm just happy to make the connection with you. That Garrett left, and I kind of took his position and moved into some other things that he was doing and other people were doing, and ended up, long story short, became the top selling trainer at the company, like whole company wide throughout the country there. And Garrett moved on to run in Tampa, St. Pete area with you guys?
Yeah, Harbor Island Athletic Club.
Yeah, it was really
Shout
cool
out
place.
to them.
Yeah, and you were there, and that's how you made the connection with Garrett. It's really awesome that we connected. It's cool, small world, like
Yeah.
you said.
Unbelievable. And when I jumped in there, I had a couple of years experience, but nothing at a large club like that. And Garrett hired me. We had a good interview, and I had decent experience, but like I didn't have a master's degree. I didn't have the formal education and all that. And maybe we're realizing that Garrett has a history of this, but I basically got hired because at the end of the interview, I asked him, when can I start? He asked me if I had any questions. I said, well, when do I start? Can I start Monday? And he just liked that approach so much, and he just liked my demeanor, and took a chance on me, and I worked out pretty good.
That's good stuff.
And I think what we're touching on is no matter what field you're in, like I was an English creative writing major in college. Sure. Not too many people know that. I didn't have exercise phys, nothing like that. But 90% of the time, at least in my experience and probably in yours, when you are trying to convince somebody that they need to take a different path, you are selling. When you're inviting people over for dinner, you're selling. When you are trying to convince somebody why your favorite TV show needs to be their favorite TV show, you're selling. And then on the back end of this, like you're selling just about no matter what you do. When you come to that realization, it kind of softens things up a little bit. But then also, if you're trying to lead somebody through change, it's not as easy as writing exercises on a piece of paper.
Right.
How many of us have been in a weight room and we've seen the high school dude leading his girlfriend through a workout, and she just looks miserable and bored to tears, and he's staring in the mirror doing tricep pushdowns, trying to show her how to do the exercise, and she's not motivated at all to follow along. There's like a psychological disconnect. Yeah. And so leading people through change is very, very difficult. And I think that some of the best managers and some of the best leaders in the fitness industry understand that. And they like people who can connect with people, not necessarily the smartest and most formally educated, but the people who can keep people safe, lead them through effective exercise, but then also connect with them on an emotional level.
This is a huge debate in the industry right now of like, there's more and more gyms hiring. It used to be only the worst gyms would hire people that didn't have experience. And now you can't go somewhere that doesn't hire people just based off their personality. So, yeah. And not to say that I want to draw a line there. Like, I don't think you just hire a good-looking girl or a strong-looking guy or only a personality. Like, they need to have the right attitude, the right personality. Those are huge things for sales, obviously. But someone that's willing to like take the responsibility that if they are not educated, to dive in and take every course and everything they can be to get educated, so they are, like you said, they are safe, that they are doing the right things. Like I said, I had no certification when I started. It doesn't mean I still have no certifications. I've spent the last 12, 13 years now diving into every single type of course that I can do, every single type of certification. I'm learning from all types of different trainers just to make sure that I have a good grasp on it. Because that's the one area that I'd always felt like, well, I love working out, I love people, but I don't know the science behind it. And so I had to dive into that hard course. Now I really feel like that's one of my strengths rather than a weakness. And you see some really great gyms offer some people, their trainers, really great continuing education. And on the flip side, I've seen some of the best trainers in the world, scientifically, certification-wise, even grad school, PhD type level thinkers, right, have the worst businesses in the world, because it's exactly what you said. Like they think I've got the best workouts. They should speak for themselves. And I'm going to write you a plan. You're going to do it. And it's very clinical. It kind of reminds me of a dietitian almost, where they're used to working in a nursing home or in a hospital, and they say, here's your calorie intake, here's what you need. Yep. And so they get out in the real world and they say, here's your calorie intake, here's what you need. And the person's usually eating McDonald's 4 times a day, and they don't know how to count calories or change anything. And the dietitian just writes a plan and here's what you do. And they can't make that change. It's more of a behavior, motivational, inspirational modification rather than is a hard change. And some of the best trainers in the world have the hardest time actually selling what they do and building a business, because they don't understand that it's not about how good their workouts are, honestly. It's about how well they connect and how well they sell. And if they can, man, I love when I start working with those guys, because if they can grasp that mindset shift, it's hard for them. But when they grasp it, things take off, because they have the best workouts in the world. And now they get the mindset of like, it's not about the best workouts. It's about the connection. It's about the sales process. That's 90% of my job. And then, oh yeah, by the way, I do have the best workouts in the world. That's really, really amazing. I can't stand when people just take sales courses and just learn how to sell, but they don't know how to train. And so you're constantly getting new people and you're getting new clients all the time. And then there's this giant hole in the bottom. And the answer is always sell more, sell more, sell more at all these gyms and all these trainers. But they should be training better. They need to learn that side of it too. So there's this balance. And I don't want to sit here and say only hire people that have no experience, but there's definitely a balance to draw and a line to draw there that we need to focus on.
Absolutely here. And, to shed some light on what's actually going on with Garrett McCoy, I think he hired me also because he saw that I was completely obsessed with training also.
It's awesome.
And so there is that blend. No matter what field you're in, you have to have a blend of personal skills. I think if you have all of the skills required for a job, you can suffice. If you can have the interpersonal skills and the relationship sides to your job, then your career is limitless. And the type of service that you can provide is almost limitless. So I really want to get into some of your path here. When you were going through this, obviously probably a little nervous that you weren't as qualified as some of these other guys. You got a baby on the way. Like what were some of your biggest influences at that time? What were some of the big turning points that really kind of lit your fire and created the aha moment that launched you in the right direction?
Yeah, I was really fortunate that the time that I came into training and the people that I was around was really I felt like I was placed in that moment for a purpose. It was really cool because I started training, when was it, September 2007, right? Just before the market crashed, just before like things got horrible. Like it's like I was in my training phase of the gym, and all of a sudden trainers who have been filled, this is a high profile, like high ticket gym. Like it's cost the most to go to this gym of anywhere in Orlando. It's like the nicest place. It's connected with a lot of like the Orlando Magic and all kinds of other stuff. It's a really cool place. And training wasn't cheap there. We had like 20 trainers on staff. I'm like, how in the world am I going to make it here? Everyone could train. Like one of the questions my bosses asked me was, why should someone train with you when they could train with me? I was just like, I don't know. They shouldn't. Are you kidding me? Like, and he like kind of smacked me. He didn't really smack me. I was just like this, like, you need to figure out that answer. Like, what's your thing that's going to be different? And I was like, man, that's a great question. That's still a hard question, right? Like, why would someone train with you when they could train with me? Like, I asked my staff that all the time when I was managing a club out in the villages. Like, it's just like, it's a hard question. But back to that time, I came in with no clients and the market crashed. So I had to figure out, like, I feel looking back, it was a hard time for me because I couldn't make any money, but it was a really fortunate time in the long run because I got to, like, I didn't get stuck in this, well, people are always buying training is here. And I look back at all these trainers who had full books, who really, some of them weren't working hard at their craft, honestly, who just kind of like fell into it and got comfortable with it, and they just went along with it. And they were good with their clients, but they weren't growing. And it's interesting when the economy changes and you don't have a growth mindset through the easy times, and you don't have an education mindset through the easy times. When it gets hard, you can't just pick up a growth mindset. You can't just pick up an entrepreneurial mindset. You can't just pick up, I want to be educated now. Like, it's too late at that point. And so for me, I was like, man, I suck at my job. And I didn't even realize the economy was crashing because I had no money and I had nothing in the stock market and I had no interest of knowing that stuff. So 2008 hit, I didn't own a home. We were living in an apartment that we couldn't afford. So I didn't even realize that stuff was bad. I just thought I sucked. So I'm working as hard as I can to get as good as I can. And I'm realizing I need to learn how to sell better. Like, somebody recommended a book. I grabbed it off a website. It was like $100. And I was like, I've never spent $100 on a book before in my life. This is ridiculous. But I bought it anyway. And it was like the best $100 I've ever spent. A couple months later, turns out I could have bought it on Amazon for like $20 or $10. And this is back before I knew about Amazon, really. So it's just like it's like 2008 when iPhones came out too. But like, it was like that was the big turning point for my life, was that year of training in 2008 when the economy crashes, technology takes off in a weird way, and I thought I was horrible. And in a lot of ways I was, but it really struck something in me to have to go and really hone my craft, learn how to sell, and learn how to work hard in a lot of ways and get creative in a lot of ways. And so that's something that I've been like, it's stuck with me the whole way through, is no matter ups and downs or dips in the economy, I'm going to get better. I'm going to be creative. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to learn how to sell in a new way. I'm going to learn how to connect with people. When I say sell, people, that's a 4-letter word to people. They think you're cussing at them or something.
Sure.
But it's basically learn how to connect and find out what's best for somebody else, right? And if I can provide that to them, then it's a win-win. We both get what we want. It's really exciting to me. So I haven't changed what I've sold. I do training. I still train, and I help trainers get better, and I still help trainers get better. So whether I was managing at a club or now online with some stuff I do, but the timing of that was amazing. And the second part, I said, the people that was around were incredible. I had a team of trainers there. Like I said, some weren't all in on it, but there was 5 or 6 guys and girls that were just like, all of them completely different, but all of them bringing in over 6 figures in revenue in training alone per year. Like, we had this massive team of amazing trainers working with professional athletes. I'm thinking Bo Outlaw was one of them. Dwight Howard was one of them. A lot of the Orlando Magic, some NFL players would fly in to work with some of these guys for training camp. Like, it was just really cool to be around. Professional squash players, I started training. One of the guys left, and I just had a relationship with this squash player. He's like the Michael Jordan of squash. If you look him up, David Palmer. He's won the world championship so many times. Unbelievable athlete, right? And so he starts a training institute in Orlando, Florida, and I'm training him. So he brings people in. He's working with them on the court. I'm working with them off the court. Really cool stuff where squash players typically just stay on the court and work on their skill. They never do stuff off the court. And we built this amazing squash training program for these guys. It was just really cool niche. And it wouldn't have happened if I wasn't in that one space at that one time, learning from these guys that were obviously better than me. And also at a time when it was really hard to actually get clients because it made me get creative. So in the moment, my wife and I thought we were like losing it. We ended up moving back in with her parents because we had no money. But in the long run now, it's been unbelievable. It's been really cool to see that hard place and grow from there.
Yeah, it's kind of like I get some kickback on some people about starting a meal plan before they go on vacation. And in reality, if you can show some kind of discipline in non-ideal situations, then that might be the best practice you can ask for, because then if you can show discipline, then you can obviously show discipline when things are ideal, or at least easier than they are now.
Yeah.
You went through a really tough time. When was the point when you actually said, okay, I think I have something here and I'm going to write about it and tell more people about it?
Sure. So my business, after I dove into that book, into 2008, halfway through, I took the last 6 months of 2008, I think, and was really diving into it and really applying it to my business. The guy's name's Alan Barres. He wrote the book, I Hate Selling. service provider, PAs, and it's a great book. It's long and it's like what you think for a CPA, right? Like an accountant would love it. But I was like, this mentor at the time was like, read this book. Like, all right. So I'm highlighting it and reading it. Like if I wasn't training, I wasn't working out. I was reading this book and highlighting it. I'm like, so I'd get a workout in every once in a while, but I'm like, my family needs this. I've got to do it. Like it became my passion to learn about sales. Cause like, we got to eat, right? And I can't live with my in-laws much longer. We got to get out of here. I love them, by the way, but anyway, just living there is tough. But it really hit me when there was some new trainers started coming on, and they were struggling with the same thing I was struggling with. And people would kind of send them to me, well, Ryan's studying this. You should talk to him. I was like, yeah, grab this book, man. It's great. They'd get the book on Amazon, and they'd be like, well, it's written for CPAs. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't really like it. It's not, and they'd kind of like, they couldn't translate it like I was translating it. And I don't know if they didn't want to, they didn't think the same way I thought, or it just was not written for them, So I ended up reaching out to the guy who wrote the book. Turns out a friend of a friend of a friend was connected to him somehow. So I have lunch with him and say, Alan, your book is amazing. I'm getting so much out of it. It's doubled my business this year. Which if you double nothing, it's still not very much, right? But it doubled my business this year. I want to rewrite it. I want to make it for trainers. Because at this point, by the time we've had these conversations, it doubled my business 3 years in a row, which at that point now we're doing something, right? And I've got a full schedule. I've got like more clients than I can really handle. And
now you're meeting expenses.
Well, yeah, like it's growing. It's amazing. So I'm like, I want to rewrite this for trainers and make it specifically for them. Can I use your title? Can I use your book? I want to change it up a little bit and use your principles, but make it specifically for trainers. So long story short, he says, yes, I rewrite the book. It's about a third of the length. And the process is still the same, but it's completely different. Like it's actually written from my perspective in the fitness industry of struggling, of doing well, of not doing well, and how does that all work together? Like when we push too hard, we don't push hard enough. Like where's the good? Where's that point in the middle where we can actually dive into something that's really powerful and really changing our mindset around things to get the right system in place. So started taking my team through it in that whole time. I'm slowly writing the book, and we'd have little team trainings. I'd have bigger and bigger teams, have more and more trainings, and basically all those trainings became the book. And it was pretty cool to see those things all kind of morph together. Took about, like I said, 3.5 years for that really to all come together from the first time I was recommending the book to people and getting something out of it myself to like it's on Amazon and it's a bestseller. Like that's like a pretty cool process. It was a long process, but it was pretty cool to see it like naturally develop and not just hey, somebody write a book, ghost write a book for me and throw it out there with my name on it. Like it was really a real thing for me. So it was pretty fun.
Wow. I don't know how many thousand new authors a year in the book industry, but there's a lot, and there's not always a lot of money in it. So to have success is very rare. What do you feel like was an ingredient for you? What was something that people might not know that really helped you along? Was it a philosophy or a person, or what was one of the key ingredients there for you?
So two big things. Having a mentor the whole way through, and maybe not just one, but maybe 4 or 5 different mentors that I would connect with. Some that I paid to do that for me. Some that they were just in my life and really cared about me and my family and were wanting to help us. Would really speak into my life, how to run a business, how to start something up, how to make sure your business is protected, like just little stuff that I didn't even think about. And then that was a big chunk of it, like that, just the idea that someone believes in me and that they're like saying, go for it. Even if they don't see it, they're saying, go for it, because I saw it, and that's really exciting to me. And the second part of it that I don't know a lot of people saw, but my bosses saw it at the gym I was at, because I got put on final notice for this, which is really fun for me. I almost got fired, right? So I would come home every day after work, and all I would do is write the book and connect with people online. I wanted to meet as many trainers as I could because I knew this book was coming out. And so I would try to help give them sales advice. Like I I would pray about what's the next step for me. God, I feel like there's something more. And all I ever got from that time alone was like, finish the book. I didn't get another step except it was finish the book. So I'd finish this book and I'd connect with people, right? And I would talk to trainers. I would connect to people on Facebook, on different groups, anywhere I could. I'd talk to different trainers, and I honestly was trying to help them as much as I could. I didn't have anything to sell. I had a book that was going to come out, so I'd give away free copies of the book. Hey, what are your thoughts? That turned into a lot of people really excited about it when it came out, and they shared it a bunch, and it was just really neat to see I guess it's a culture change in my world, because I never had so many people speaking into my life in a mentor role before, helping me do it. And then I immediately took it and tried to help other people with it, what they were doing, because I knew this was something that changed me, and I knew it could be something that changed other people too. So I still do that, and I still try to reach out. Like, you see all these webinars online, and it's like, I'm sure you've done them, and everybody listening to this podcast has logged into a webinar before, and it's like this, like, I can't stand it. And I run webinars now, and I do trainings now, but I just can't stand the idea of like, sign up for my webinar. I'm going to help you grow your business. And you're like, you're 45 minutes in, the guy's still talking about himself, and he hasn't told you one fact. He gives you 3 things that are probably good things to do, but if you really want to know how to do them, you got to pay $17,000 to join my mastermind club. And that's all well and good. I don't want to hate on anybody for their business. I'm sure a lot of those things work really well. I've actually been a part of a couple of them that weren't as cheesy. And I actually sell some stuff like that myself, but I made a commitment. Like, I never want to come across as this, like, hey, if you want my knowledge, you've got to buy all my stuff. I want to help anybody I can that has time to reach out to me. I want to make time for them too. So that's something that I think has helped it grow a ton. The mentors, and then the actual being willing to be a mentor, even the people that aren't paying me. I've got a full course. I've got clients I take on, but I still think, even this morning, I had a 5-10 minute call with somebody else. And when we get done, I've got another 5-10 minute call. I'm not charging them for that. I just want to talk to people and help them out. So that's like, when I can, I make time for those things. And it's come back in a really neat kind of cyclical way to help grow my business in the long run. Cause it's just, when you help people want more help from you. It's really good stuff.
Yeah. I feel like I have my own personal feelings about that too, and that this is such a saturated buyer's market that everyone that posts about their own business, you could consider that advertising. People are getting spammed on Facebook like crazy. People might even feel like I spam them. I do it as a way to communicate, what I'm up to. I have gotten some comments before that, some things that I run, people are upset that they didn't know about it. So I try to post and communicate as much as I can. But when you consider it in the entirety of someone's Facebook feed or the entirety of someone's email inbox, we're getting sold so much stuff. So it's not like it's not like I have, from a consumer standpoint, it's not like I have to buy from you. I have so many options.
Right.
Limitless options. And so I really do feel like now, and what I try to do, especially with this podcast and the type of stuff that I do, I feel like you and I approach things in a similar way, that my influences that I purchase from them because I felt like their advice was in good nature and it worked.
Right.
And so sometimes that's really all people are looking for is, some trust that what you're offering me is different than what they're offering me, because you're going to at least give me advice that works. And if it doesn't, you're going to help me through that, and help me through that process versus, if you want all my secrets, you have to spend a bunch of money, and then maybe they do, and maybe don't they work. And I remember Rob Wolf, who is one of my, I consider him an inspiration because I grew up listening to his podcast early on. And he said that he said he gave away his entire book in his podcast. And the more book content he shared on the podcast for free, the more books he sold.
Yeah.
I think people feel a little maybe indebted to you. Maybe they're sold on you specifically, and then they know your information as a compliment to that.
Right.
I feel like that's the kind of buyer's market that we're in. I feel like that's the kind of buyer I am, and therefore that's the kind of buyer that I want to sell to, I think. And so you were at the point now where you've created a book. It's growing. It's doing well. #1 on Amazon. You're still coaching at this point. You're still training. You're a
Yeah.
father of, when the book came out, or let's say when the book actually hit #1 on Amazon, how many kids do you have? How big is your family at this point?
At this point, I've got 3 children. And just one real quick thing to go back. When it came out, I'm managing a club in the Villages. I'm training. I've got a team of 12 trainers and 20 Group X instructors. And I'm leading the sales and fitness side of the gym, right? Like all the things that connect with people is what I'm doing at the gym. And the book comes out, so I'm, instead of writing every night, now I'm posting about it every night, like connecting in different groups. And then I walk into work the next day and they're like, we don't think you're committed here, and you're on final notice. I was like, dang, you have no idea what I've been doing every day for the last 2 years. I go home and I spend 4 hours a night writing and rewriting and connecting. Like, you're just seeing a Facebook post. Instead of going home and drinking a beer and watching TV, I get on the computer. I'm all in when I'm here, man. So it was a fun time for me to see that when people don't quite see your vision, or maybe I didn't communicate it clearly enough to them. To be clear, I didn't get fired, and we worked things out, and I love that company that I was with. Like, they're a great company, but it's interesting to you see different vision from different people, and then conflict arises, and it's a fun time. But to your point, full-time job, run a children's ministry at our church with my wife, and then we also have 3 children. My son was 9, my daughter was 7, and my youngest daughter was 4 at the time. So it might be a year off on those ages, but that's 3 kids right there below 9, which is fun.
I feel like things are starting to get a little blurry right around this time.
Yeah, this is a wild time for me, right? Like, it's crazy. So we decide, why not just go all in with this thing? And we think foster care, it's been on our heart forever. So we went through the classes for foster care. We have a foster child through that process. It's like an 8 or 9 week class you take on Saturdays to make sure that you're a suitable foster parent. We also got pregnant. so now we're a family of 5. We got 4 of our own and a foster baby we've had for about, we had her since she was 6 days old. She's about 10 months old now. So almost coming up on a year here of being foster parents. It's been a wild ride. So
your family pictures must look like the never-ending mirror, just like people as far as you can see.
Little people that just look like me, and they keep getting smaller and smaller. It's amazing. So I got 2 boys and 2 girls and a little foster baby, and they're all amazing. We love them. But it's opened up some opportunities to actually leave the corporate job I was at to run my own business. I still do training a couple days a week. I have some clients. I think I always will, to some extent, train people, no matter how much this coaching business takes off for me, just because I like being in the trenches with trainers, knowing what they're going through, just remembering what the objections are like. And I don't want to lose that, and I love training people and working with people and seeing them change that way too. So I do training and I do coaching for clients, and my wife and I run the children's ministry at our church. It's been amazing. So I get to do stuff like this a lot more now with you and with other people like you that have these kind of podcasts. It's amazing. It's really fun. And it's just a blast. The hard part is just redefining what normal is, right? Like, you're used to getting up at 4 a.m. and going to work, and you've got to be at the gym by 5:30 for a client, and you got a trainers meeting at 9, and you got another meeting with a Group X at 1. You got to be home by 4. All this different stuff I got going on. It was very scheduled, and now it's still scheduled, but babies need help at midnight and 3 o'clock and whatever else it is. So there was about 3 or 4 months there where I was like feeling really guilty that I wasn't waking up at 4 a.m, and I feel like I'm lazy bum for not getting up and going to work at 5. And like, it was just, my work schedule has changed so much. That was really hard for me. It was really challenging to figure out, what does normal look like now? Because for the last 12 years, or the last 13 years, it's been wake up at 4:30, wake up at 5:30, whatever it is, and get to it. And this season of my life, my family can't afford me to do that, because then I'm done by the end of the day. So it's just really, it's cool. It's a challenge. It's just a different kind of challenge I've ever had before.
Wow. So you're at this point wearing Tommy Bahama every day, laying in hammocks, looking successful, going to church, being a good influence on people. And you decide to launch an e-course. So
Yes.
now you have the Rainmaker Academy.
Well, so not that simple, but yeah. So basically all the trainings that I used for my teams when we were working through, like in the trenches, like in the gym, we went through every quarter. We'd go through a different sales skill, training skill, something to work on. So I basically took the book, took all that, said, okay, what do people really need? And people keep asking, like, hey, Ryan, I got the book. Would you have more? I started getting clients, trainer clients that wanted to help grow their business. And I'm like I said, in the back of my mind, all it ever was write this book, like help people write this book. And I'm getting one-on-one clients, and I'm realizing I can't, just like with training, I had this shift where I was like, I can't keep this up. I can't keep taking one-on-one clients every day and ignoring my family all day long. So I took all the stuff from those clients, from my trainers, from my teachings and stuff at the gym and all the conversations we had, and made it the Rainmaker mindset course. Because I realized sales is so much more than just a system. You know, the book is the system, and it lays out the full system for you. So it's not like a bait and switch, buy the book and haha, you got to buy something else if you really want it. But like the whole system is there. And I just realized so many people would read it and be like, okay, that's cool, and they'd implement it, but not get the results that they thought they wanted, or not get the results that I thought they could get.
By the way, I apologize. I want to make a note. Do you feel like this book would apply to people in other career paths? Oh, yes,
100%. So as long as you can do what I did with the original book and just translate it out, like it's very practical for anybody that's got to deal with people, right? And especially if you're selling air, like a personal trainer is, like a gym is. Yeah. You can have all the greatest equipment in the world. You can have the coolest monitors and treadmills and squat racks, but you're essentially selling air, right? Like it's not like, here's your phone, take this phone and this is gonna be the best phone. It's gonna last you for 2 years and you're gonna have a great time with it. You actually have something when you walk away. You walk into a gym, you walk into a trainer, you give them money, you walk away, you have nothing in your hands, right? You haven't changed at all. And so it's really every session, you've got to sell something to them. Like, here's a new exercise. Here's why you should eat well. Here's why you should come back next time. You're selling air every single time. So if you're in that industry, it applies directly to you, like 1,000%. That's not even a possibility, but it applies directly to you. Other industries, you have to translate it, I think, but that's where it would go. So
awesome. Okay. So sorry to interrupt. Let's go back into getting into this course.
Yeah. So it started taking off, and mainly because I didn't set out to write a course. I set out to write. I actually researched a book for my own benefit. It grew me. I applied it. I kept reapplying it to other people that asked questions, and realized, just like I did with training, I basically do 3 things now. I work with, as far as training goes, I train people. I do that in small groups most of the time, almost 90% of the time. You always have your one-on-one clients that you just really like them, and you're like, I can't give up this slot. It's just too fun, you know. Yeah. But it's just more of a personal thing than anything else. And then I have people on my course, and I take one-on-one clients that same kind of thing. Like if I know the person really gets it and they really want specific help, I'll consider taking them on there too. But it's training and online training for trainers. It's been powerful stuff, because that mindset shift is huge. You can Google sales techniques. You can Google overcoming sales objections. I actually did a live chat today, and the first thing I did before the chat was I Googled sales objections, like overcoming sales objections, because that's what I was talking about, the objection of price. And I just wanted to know, what does Google say? One of the things that came up was like, sell benefits, not features, right? Which is very basic advice, but it's still, you got trainers walking around your gym or walking around your studio saying, we have a squat rack that's going to help your legs. We have a bike, it's going to help your heart. We have this, it's going to help your abs. And they're just basically just pulling an arrow back and shooting until hopefully they hit something, rather than really connecting with the person and what that person is coming for. Because they didn't walk into your gym to try to figure out what machine is going to help my abs here? Do you have a machine that's going to help my abs? They might ask a question like that. Yeah. That's not what they really mean. There's a question behind that question. Like, my wife thinks I'm fat and she doesn't look at me. She's never said it, but she doesn't look at me the same way she used to. And I want her head to turn when I walk in the bedroom at night. Like that's the question behind the question when they're saying, where can I work on my abs? Right. So if you're just walking around the gym saying, well, there's the benefit of this, there's the benefit of that, maybe you kind of touch that fear. Right. But the other one I found interesting, it said sell using 3D props. I said, I don't even know what that means, but that was like 5th on the list on Google of how to get better at sales. I was like, so you grab a Lego and you say, your body's kind of like this, and we got to build onto it. And I'm just like, I don't know why I have a Lego in my hand, but that's the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like,
I know why you have a Lego in your hand.
I mean, I have 5 kids. There's a reason I have a Lego in my hand, right? I step on Legos every day. My feet are like rocks now. It's amazing. I'm used to it.
I'm sure you have Legos in your pockets, between your toes.
But the point to that is there's sales tips everywhere, but until we actually dive in and change our mindset on what we charge and who we're helping and how we're helping them, if the psychology of it doesn't change, all the tips in the world aren't going to help anybody. And so that's what I really tried to do with my coaching and my training, just like I do with my personal training, right? In my groups is let's change the way you think about the way you work out. Let's change the way you think about your training and your sales. Both of those are so big. And I'll give the example for personal training when you're working out. It's so normal now, and nothing against CrossFit at all, but it's just been so normalized that the more you do and the faster you do it, the better results you're going to get, right? But I found the opposite to actually be the truth with my clients. The more they do, the more stressed out they get. The more they do, the more worried they get. The more they do, the more they think they've got to do more, and they're counting Fitbit steps, and they're doing all kinds of stuff. And those all have their place, I think, at the right time. But what I found in my training is the less they do and the better they do it, the better results they get. If I slow people down and we do a couple kettlebell swings, a couple farmer's carries, and a couple breathing techniques, then all of a sudden they actually feel their core and their hips and their glutes firing and working the right way. And they're getting results that they've never experienced before. And they did 1,000 push-ups, 1,000 squats, 1,000 burpees, 1,000, and they're running through all that stuff. They're tired at the end of the 1,000 rep, whatever. They've trained at the end of when they do it on purpose. And that's kind of when I took that same attitude when I built the sales training is we don't need to do everything ever. It's the goal is to be done with it in 6 weeks and do it well and really change the way we think rather than here's every sales objection you're ever going to hear. Like, let's change the way we think so we can get out in front of those. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, it's more about treating each individual individually, but then also focusing more on relationships rather than the sale itself.
100%.
So I think we all, no matter what industry you're in, if anyone's listening to this, we all want some semblance of that kind of life. Like Tim Ferriss always said, I think it was Tim Ferriss, said, no one wants to be a millionaire. People want to live like a millionaire. We just think we need $1 million to do it.
Sure.
And so being able to do things on your own terms, have your own kind of schedule, have your own mission carried out in a way that you can live it and make a living doing it, I think is every man's dream. So we're all pursuing that. Once you've hit a point where you're starting to do that, you're a father, you have a lot of responsibilities other than yourself. I want to know what have you done to make sure that Ryan doesn't burn out? Like Ryan's taken care of. You're doing a lot to take care of a lot of other people.
Yeah.
How do you feel that? What kind of barriers have you set up in your life? What kind of boundaries have you set up? What are some points where you realize you're getting burnt out and maybe need to take a step back? And what do you do? Like, where does Ryan fit in the picture?
So I'm just realizing over the last couple of years that I don't mean this in an arrogant way at all. And I'm always concerned it comes across that way, but I hope y'all will understand what I'm saying. I just realized that I'm different than a lot of people in this regard. I have a really high motor and I really have a lot of I'm just forward thinking. I actually have a pretty poor memory for a lot of things, which is,
that would have made you a good pitcher.
Well, maybe it didn't help with my hitting at all. I just thought I was good every time I came to the plate, It didn't
The
make
guy
any
doesn't
better.
get it. The guy doesn't get it.
Yeah. The poor memory might be the wrong term, but
Short memory.
short memory in a good way and sometimes a bad way. But the idea behind this is like, what I do might not work for what everybody else does, because it used to frustrate me when some people wouldn't work as hard as I would or wouldn't do what I thought was right. I'm coming to realize that everybody's built differently, right? Everybody has their own motor, has their own energy level they work best at, and their own calling in different areas. So for me and my family, each one of my kids is built differently too, right? My wife and I are built differently. Like we have different motors. We have different things that fill us up and different things that drain us. So the biggest thing for me is just taking a moment to realize that and say, okay, what is it that my kids need the most? What is it that my wife needs the most? And I found there's a lot of talk right now about self-help, about self-love, about taking care of yourself. And it's really important. But I found the more I try to take care of myself, the more that I end up needing to take care of myself, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I kind of related to, I hurt my back a long time ago, overextended, like my something in my lumbar spine, and just it bothered me for a long time. And this chiropractor and physical therapist told me, don't do any deadlifts, don't watch your squatting, like just take a break for a while. And so I did, and it just hurt more and more until I finally realized, okay, well, it's not getting better when I go to the chiropractor. It's not getting better when I do their stretches. It's not getting better when I take a break. So screw it. I'm going to deadlift. I like to deadlift. I'm going to deadlift. And all of a sudden my back started feeling a lot better. I didn't hurt it deadlifting. I hurt it doing something else. And so now if I go a certain amount of time without deadlifting, my lower back starts to bother me a little bit. Not painful, but just like it gets tight for some reason, or it gets overextended. So not to get into the science behind that at all, but the same thing with my life. I found if I start to take care of myself the way that everybody else tries to tell me to too much, I find that I kind of turn into a little pansy and I start to need more things than I really actually need. And when I actually start to sacrifice for my family first, and I start to give up even business opportunities, I start to give up personal opportunities for my wife. And the one thought that's been on my mind the most is in the Bible, it says that men should love their wives as Christ loved the church. And I'm a Christian, and Jesus died for us. He laid down his life and sacrificed everything for the church. And I'm just like, man, that's how I want to lead my wife. That's how I want to lead my family. I want to lay down my life for her. So I've been asking, I'm trying to be better at this as much as I can be. But I feel like that's a calling in my life, is how can I lay down my life for my kids? How can I lay down my life for my family? And it's amazing when I actually do that, and God is the one leading me through that I actually get filled up more than I just need a personal day, guys. I just need some time to just go to the beach. I love to fish when I'm catching fish. I don't love to fish when I'm not catching fish. That's fun. Yeah. I enjoy getting outside in nature with my family and by myself too. But what really, I think, fills me up and gives me vision is when I'm laying down my life for my family. And it's hard to do in the moment because I want to watch Game 6 of the NBA Finals, or I want to watch this UFC fight, or I want to go make money, or I want to do this. And it always feels like an inconvenience. And I just actually was just listening to a book today. The lady said, there is no inconvenience, but just manifestations of Christ in our life. Like, it's just like, that's part of our life, is like to dive into that sacrifice, to dive into that more and more. And I don't know if this is getting too spiritual for people or whatever, but it's something that's really filled me up a lot, is realizing that I don't really always need to be filled. Because so much of our life is rest in itself. Like, how often do people not watch TV at night or not do something? Like, there's all these little moments of rest we get that I think if we just were grateful for those, it changes everything. Now, I'll back up real quick and say, right now it's every Thursday, I take the day off, and I try not to run my business at all. I'll answer some questions here and there if I have a moment, but it's basically like, it's my day to rest and to do something fun with my family. We went to Hollywood Studios yesterday with the kids for half a day and just kind of like went on some roller coasters. I thought I traumatized my daughter for life. She said she wanted to go on the rock and roller coaster that goes upside down in the dark and spins around. I was like, are you sure? Yeah. Are you sure? She said, yes, Daddy, I want to do it. I'm 8 years old. I can do it. I was like, all right. Mike, I don't think I could do to a human anything that would make the sounds come out of them that came out of her on that roller coaster. She's just, nah! So that was the worst. I was crying because she was crying so much. The worst thing ever. But it was a fun day, right? We had a great day. It was our day off.
Awesome. It was great.
So I don't know if that answers the question or what, but I don't often think too much about what I need. And then there'll be once a month, I'll try to do like a little getaway or a little just guy time with some guys that I know and some friends, play some poker, or do something like that. I think that's important to keep relationships and keep friendships in the forefront of our mind, because that's what matters the most. So if I had to say all that real short, I'd say sacrifice. I'd say take a day once a week, and I'd say have some strong relationships with some guys that are close to you that are going to influence you to some good things. So those three things really helped me a ton.
You know, one key thing I've heard recently is the difference between rest and recovery is that, you know, we need rest, but rest is a very passive process. Recovery is a very active process, something that actually fills you back up. Like rest is like complete nothingness. And I think we mix those two things up, because when people try to recover, they feel drained, they go into rest, which doesn't actually fill you back up, but you can consistently do things that maybe help you recover from a specific stressor, but you're still doing something active. You're still actively pursuing something. It's just in a different bucket, and it's something that regenerates your spirit a little bit. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what you're touching on, is that I think sometimes we make the mistake of rest or inactivity as a way to cope, when it's not.
Yeah. So, I mean, yesterday was my off day, right? And instead of sitting at home and watching TV all day and ignoring the kids, we went to the busiest, hottest place on earth, which is also the most magical, right? Disney World. But it was a great day to engage the kids, stand in line for a long time, sit in the hot sun, but be a family together and do something fun together. You know, it's good.
Yeah. So how long do you think till your daughter goes back on the rock and roller coaster?
I thought she would never go on another roller coaster again. I thought I traumatized her for life. But she went on the Slinky Dog roller coaster next, which is a little smaller, and loved it. So maybe she'll go on a couple more and be back on that thing next year by the end of the summer. I don't know, but she's a daredevil. So I got to watch out for her.
That's awesome. Yeah. Coach that up a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, dude, that was absolutely awesome. I can't thank you enough for your time. I hope we get boatloads of listens on this, because there is so much good stuff in there. And if anybody wants to follow up with you, where do they find you?
Couple places. This has been a lot of fun, by the way. I love this. You do such a good job hosting this show. It's been great to listen to other episodes, and be on here with you now is awesome.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Anybody that wants the book can go to my website and get it. It's basically, it's really simple. I can give you the link. I don't know if you can have it in some kind of notes, but it's ihatesellingbook.com/your-free-copy. So ihatesellingbook.com, your-free-copy is the way to get your free copy of the book. Through that, you'll get a free, it's a PDF, and you can buy the audio for like $8 if you want it. The audio book is me reading it. I read the whole thing, and I go off some crazy rabbit trails and some other thoughts. It's a little longer than the normal book, which I liked a lot. I listened to an audio book, and it was so dry and boring. And then I listened to somebody else, and they actually went off on rabbit trails. I was like, wait, I could do that. I could read the book and then just give a little teaching in between. It was really exciting to me to realize that, have that like switch in my head of like, it doesn't have to be just reading the book. I can actually talk through some stuff too. So
it's a rancher's dream.
Yeah. There's some bonuses in there for that. If anybody wants more info on the Rainmaker Academy and the mindset course, it's just email me. It's the easiest way. If you get the book, you'll get emails from me with the book. You can reply to those, or just Ryan@trainingwithryan.com is probably the easiest way you can reach out to me right now. And I'm pretty good about checking emails within 48 hours. So I'll get back to you guys as soon as I can on that.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up on that note. Everyone, please reach out to Ryan. He's been fantastic to me. He's a fantastic guy, father, comedian, actor, philanthropist, doctor, everything under the sun. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. This has been the Inward Investing Podcast with Mike Ritter, Todd Whalen, and we're signing off. Thank you very much.